What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another video. Hope you guys are having a good week. Today, checking out Yamaha MT09. Let's jump on it, go for a ride, and see what it's all about. So, Yamaha MT09, the bigger brother of my own bike, the Yamaha MT07. So, let's talk specs. So, we got ourselves an inline 3-cylinder 847cc engine, all coupled up to a 6-speed transmission. And power-wise, this thing is rapid. When I say it goes, it goes. The way it builds its power is so immense, it's linear, but it's just so rapid just how quickly you get up to speed, and it's just incredible. But of course, all that power is no good if you can't come to a stop. And we got ourselves two dual discs up front, 298mm, and a single rear disc, 245mm. And honestly, they're not too bad. As I've commented on previous bikes, the back brake leaves a little bit to be desired. I feel like it definitely communicates more compared to the other bikes that I've tested so far, but it's still not as powerful as I'd expect. So you definitely want to be using the front and back brakes and apply equal amount of pressure on both brakes whenever you come to a stop. So something to keep in mind. And of course, power and coming to a stop is only enabled by good grip. So let's talk tires. You got 120 by 70 up front and 180 55s out back, and both 17-inch rims. And overall, it's fairly nimble, but really the word that I would like to use is stable. It's incredibly stable when you're up to speed. And it really does fall into the corners quite easily and quite well. It's very, very well balanced.
And this is of course helped by the riding position. Now this bike is obviously from the naked class of motorbikes, and the riding position is more on the upright side of the spectrum. I can tell you can't get any more upright than this one. It's on about 172 centimeters in height. What is that? 5'7", I think, and I found myself being able to flat foot this without any issues. Whenever I come to a stoplight, I could put both my feet on the ground very flat without having to tiptoe.
And all of that is facilitated by the suspension package with telescopic forks up front with about 137mm of travel, and you got a single shock connecting the rear there with about 130mm of travel. And yeah, it's really, really stable is the word that I would like to use, albeit it is still quite nimble. Wet weight is about 193 kilos if I'm not mistaken, and yeah, it's no slouch, that's for sure. So yeah, let's talk about how this thing rides. Well, there's no better way to put it. It is a hoot. Oh my gosh, it's rapid, as I say. Yeah, I love this bike. I'm enjoying it so much riding around this sort of back roads. The ride and the way the bike performs is facilitated by 3 different riding modes. So you have standard, which I'm currently in, and then you have ride mode A and then ride mode B. I don't know if you can see that on your screen. And essentially, yeah, when you cycle through those modes, it changes up the throttle response. Like I said, the power delivery of this bike is very linear, and I find, you know, you want to be in standard for the most part, but when you want to do a bit more spirited riding, you switch it to ride mode A, and it doesn't necessarily make the throttle twitchy, but it definitely makes it more responsive. One particular thing that I always hear about reviews about this bike is how twitchy it is, and in my experience so far, that's really not the case. It's really quite docile if you ride it like any other bike. You know, you just ride it normally with average amount of throttle and you know, putting around town. It's very manageable and very approachable power wise. And when I was going to pick this bike up, I was thinking, wow, like this thing is gonna just throw me off the bike immediately, because that's all I've heard about how crazy this bike is. And it is, but when you're just riding around normally every day, it's pretty much like any other bike, although you do build up the speed fairly quickly. For everyday riding, you stick to standard mode. Bit of spirited riding, stick to mode A, and then of course for wet or damp roads you want to stick to mode B, and essentially that one really does slack off the throttle a lot. And when I mean a lot, I mean a lot. It really makes the throttle response incredibly sluggish, and that is really good because, you know, damp conditions are one of the most dangerous conditions for anyone to be riding in. But of course, with all that power, you need the juice to power it, and this comes with a 14-liter fuel tank. It's a bit of a meh sort of point about this bike. A lot of people say that they hoped it was a larger tank, which I sort of agree as well. And for context, the smaller brother of this, the MT07, has a 14-liter tank, and that's a smaller cc bike. So on paper, the mileage for this is about 55, I believe. But people who have tested this have found about 40 or 44, so is what they're sort of average in terms of mileage. So something to take into account depending on what you'd be buying this bike for, what sort of purpose. Is it everyday commuting or long distance touring, or a bit of both? So something to keep in mind. Ride comfort wise, it's decent, but one thing to note, this seat I found isn't the most comfortable, and I would say that lends itself to what this sort of bike is really intended for in terms of its purpose. And for me, that would just be everyday commuting. So if you're just riding to a place of work, you know, it's bearable. But if you were thinking of doing long distance, definitely I highly recommend you get yourself a comfort seat or some sort of gel padding to put on top of the stock seat. It'll do your butt wonders. Otherwise, you're just gonna arrive at your destination 3-4 hours later and have a really sore behind. Yeah, other things, I love the wide handlebars. We'll see if we can do a filter test. Hopefully traffic's flowing pretty well today. So far, from the amount of riding I've done, I haven't had any issues filtering. It filters through just fine. There is no issues even with the wider handlebar. But it definitely helps with the, there you go, filter test. Can you filter? Yes, you can. Look at that. Awesome. Yeah, the wide handlebars really help with the nimble but stable nature of this bike. I can't believe just how stable it is, because, you know, all the reviews I've seen is just about how leery this bike is, and it is. So I reckon if you crank the throttle past maybe 30-40%, then that's, yeah, you're in hooligan territory with that one. Other things, it's so easy to find neutral in this. It's ridiculous how easy it is. What else? Oh, right, exhaust. If you get one of these bikes, please, for the love of your ears, get yourself an aftermarket exhaust. It doesn't matter if it's some slip-on that you buy off Wish or a full-blown Akrapovic carbon, titanium, whatever exhaust. Just do it, because man, this stock exhaust is in sewing machine mode all the time. Like Yamaha, you need to take notes from Triumph and BMW. You guys remember we rode that BMW S1000, and man, that thing for a stock exhaust sounds incredible. It's so audible and there's so much burble to it as well. This one is just, it's a sewing machine for the most part. So yeah, I would definitely go with the aftermarket exhaust if you decide to get one of these. Excuse me, gonna go past you guys, thank you. And I guess we got to talk about, you know, any bike, the first thing you see is what it looks like. So design wise, the way I describe this bike is alien looking. It's all sharp lines and creases. You'd be hard pressed to find a single curve on this thing, with the exception of the wheels. And last time I checked, the wheels kind of need to resemble the shape of a curve. So yeah, I like the design. It's really good looking, very sharp looking bike. Well, that's pretty much it, guys. If you watched the video all the way through, thank you so much, really appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and leave a comment down below. If you owned one of these bikes, let us know what your ownership experience has been like. I can only really comment on the bike for, you know, the 24 hours that I have it for. But if you owned one and you know how the ownership experience is like, leave it a comment down below. Share it with all of us and help all of those out who are looking to buy one of these bikes. It'll be greatly appreciated. And if you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you guys in the next video.